What's going on, Los Angeles, Bruin Nation, LAFB fam? How we doing? The Madman here, back together with the great Silver Fox, Mr. Wayne Cook, for all of your UCLA football needs. And obviously, the man next to me needs no introduction, the original Trojan Slayer, the great Mr. Wayne Cook. Wayne, so thrilled to have you on. As we talked offline and earlier this week, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're keeping the superstition of having you on immediately after these wins to keep the good flow and the mojo going here. But great to see you as always.
Jamal, it's my pleasure, buddy, and it's exactly right. I'm like, hey, we got to keep going with this. It's been 3 weeks in a row. I mean, we usually do it anyway, but like it's been 3 weeks in a row. We've had 3 wins. This has been so much fun. It's been, you know, we had the shocker, followed by a butt whooping on the road, followed by, and I think people probably don't appreciate how good Maryland is. Because Maryland, you know, played Nebraska and had a lead in the fourth quarter. They played Washington and had a lead in the fourth quarter. They played UCLA and had a lead in the fourth quarter. And they're finding ways to lose. But if you weren't impressed with a couple things, one, their pass blocking I thought was fantastic. Like they gave Malik plenty of time, which is why I thought it was so cool that UCLA made the adjustments to play coverage and really did a good job of forcing, you know, Malik Washington into some tough throws, and he probably could have thrown 4 or 5 interceptions. And then to have the offense figure it out. Like I said during the broadcast, Jerry's being tested. This is his first, because everything had gone so well as an offensive coordinator. And if you really pay attention, they found something late in that game. We started hitting some corners and some deeper crossing routes. We find kind of like a hole in their defense. But we still had to block because we were struggling with that pass rush. We still had to block long enough for it to happen, and then to have your quarterback, who probably didn't even come close to having his best game of the season with the pick six, couple of interceptions, right? And then it comes back and is at his best when his best was needed. And so, again, I know we're going to have tons to talk about, but to me, that was, and you heard Coach Skipper, for all the videos that circulate, talking about that strain. I asked him about it at halftime. I actually love that word because football's hard. It's a grind. It's supposed to be difficult. And to win a game like that, to extend your win streak to 3 games, is incredible. And then throw into it, Jamal, the opportunity to play on the big stage again, kind of like we did at Penn State. Pretty darn cool for a team that started 0-4.
Oh, no question about it, Wayne. And so much to sort of uncover here. You know, I'll start with this. I read this the other day. I thought it was a fascinating stat. Only the third time in the BCS era from 1998 onwards that a Power 4 team has lost their first 4 games and then subsequently won their next 3. I mean, this is a really unprecedented situation that we're in. We're really sort of on the train of history right now, Wayne. But I want to double click on some of the things that you said there. I thought Will said it best in our show 2 days ago, where the Penn State game was kind of all about Jerry, given, you know, the circumstances and all of that. And then I thought the Michigan State game was really about Tim Skipper and like, hey, don't forget about Tim Skipper here and how he's orchestrated this program so beautifully. And Will said it best that this game felt like the Coyle game, you know, and now because of how well the defense played, it's really the defense that kept us in it, Wayne, to give us that shot at the end. And I think you said something really profound just now, where early in the game, it felt like we were playing more zone. They had a lot of those kind of underneath crossers, you know, on third down, particularly those first 2 possessions. That all sort of went away with more kind of man-to-man and tighter coverage. And we really tightened the screws on Maryland. And what I thought was so fascinating was, even though the line didn't get a sack in this game, Maryland just could not run the ball.
Right.
And both of their red zone possessions, Wayne, you know, there was that second, before the pick six, there was that 2nd and goal from the 2. They threw it 3 times in a row. They just didn't have confidence to run the ball, nor did they in their earlier red zone drive. So I thought the defense was absolutely phenomenal. And then you said it best on the other side of the ball with Nico coming up here, that 4th and 10, that deeper cross to Quasi, and then you get the 15-yard penalty and you march down. Then on 3rd down, you find Matthews for the touchdown there, and then you come back and close it out at 17-all with those 2 great kind of deep corner throws to TMA. And then Frias, we have to talk about Frias. And you said it, Wayne, that this is going to be kind of a game where there's going to be some gashes. And we thought it would be Jet, but it ended up being the Frias game. And you said it best. You said, well, sometimes it just comes down to who's in the game and the timing of that particular rep, and that's exactly how it played out. So just your thoughts on both sides of the ball there, Wayne.
So let's give Will, and Will, we miss you, buddy. Don't get me wrong. I will be watching that Laker game later. It's being recorded. I promise. The idea is that I've been asked, when I do the podcast, the College Sports Now, which is more of a national show, we've been talking about UCLA a lot more because UCLA has become a story, and it's a lot of fun because we talk about, all the teams that are doing well in college football. But Roddy Jones, who works for ESPN, was kind of like, hey, man, what's going on with Tim Skipper kind of being ignored? And I kind of blamed the national media for it. I said, the problem is that in college football, we're so regional, and we talk about, especially the people that talk about the country, if people were being really honest, they focus on their favorite conference, they focus on the teams they cover, and then they kind of pay attention to everybody else. Right. But what people do a lot is they listen to the national media, and they just kind of regurgitate what other people are saying. There are people, don't get me wrong, that watch everything, but what Roddy's comment was, why does it seem like everybody's so focused on Jerry? And by the way, this is not a knock on Jerry, but Jerry does have a famous dad who's all over the airways, who's on CBS Sports, people know who Rick Neuheisel is, and basically Jerry is, he was born to do this, and so it's a great story. It's an amazing story, and he's done an amazing job. But I struggle with, this is do I have to pick between, right? And I'm not even going to say LeBron, I'm going to say Kobe or Jordan. Do I have to pick between those two? I like them both. Do I have to say, is it Brady or Peyton? Is it like Mahomes or – I like all of them. They're all really, really good, and I hate that we're living this world where you feel like you have to choose. Yeah. Because to me, when you replace your head coach and your 2 coordinators, wow, those are the 3 prominent coaching jobs on your staff. Every head coach will tell you if you don't have great coordinators, it's going to be a struggle. So all of them have been fantastic. But Tim Skipper is still the head coach. Yes. He's the one setting the tone. He's the one, he's been so good from day one. And I'm not saying he deserves more credit. I just think they all 3 deserve all kinds of accolades because, like you said, this has been historic. And I've been trying to tell people of the 3, the one that's been ignored the most is the wily veteran and Coach Coyle. And he has done, think about this. When he came aboard, it was before Jerry, right? It was the Northwestern game, and they made adjustments on the fly in that game. They went to having a 5-man front and they shut out. By the way, Northwestern keeps winning people. Yeah. They shut out Northwestern and won that second half 14-0. It's a bummer that we didn't start that a little sooner. And if you think about the Jerry edition, I guarantee you, with the play calling that is the way it's changed on offense, we win that game. And we're sitting at 4-0 right now, which hurts because it just took a little bit too long. But Kevin Coyle's been incredible. To watch the defense play, the secondary, the way they played, the confidence. And if you listen to Tim Skipper, he will tell you, we have added so much information to this team, and they're taking it and they're absorbing it. And I'm telling you this. As a person who teaches, if you're buying in and the person that's teaching it is a great teacher, you'd be amazed at how much you can learn. If you don't quite understand what they're talking about and you don't really buy into it and it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't work. And so I have to say, this massive turnaround shows me that the teaching, and here's what's great about this too, every single one of the assistants has had to buy into this also because they're the ones coaching their position on a regular basis, and it feels like they've bought into it too, and it just seems like the whole staff has gone in the right direction. But again, the guy at the top that's running the whole ship has been the skipper, right? It's been the skipper, and he's done such an amazing job of it. So I give all of them their accolades, but I would challenge the national media, especially if things get a little crazy this weekend.
Oh.
Give that man his flowers, man. He's done an amazing job, and he's been a great. I mean, he's jumped right in and almost like represented what I've always felt like. He's just been a Bruin from day one.
Yes.
I remember that Northwestern game. He had that real blue outfit on. Like, it doesn't mean you can't wear it, but it was kind of cool that he did that. When everybody else was wearing the black stuff, he's like, I'm gonna wear my Bruin blue colors. And I thought that was really cool too.
No, it really was, Wayne. And before we jump ahead here, because we'll certainly talk about what's to come, I want to circle back just a little bit on Nico as well, Wayne. And I know that he, obviously you're the quarterback and you get sort of all the headlines, but Will and I talked about this. There hasn't been a player in college football that has been scrutinized and criticized and had the spotlight on him more than Nico Iamaleava this year. And just his evolution of staying with it, kind of always being true to himself, being that leader. You're sort of reminded at 0-4 where he said, look, whoever doesn't want to be here doesn't have to be here. You guys can leave. No one left. The unquestioned leader. And I thought a huge moment, Wayne, in that game was after the interception of Malik Washington, up 14-10. You think the game's over, and, that drive sort of stalls out, but Nico gets hurt on that hit. And just watching, Wayne, the team's reaction to him on the ground. And it was just sort of this collective look of concern and fear, and everyone sort of galvanized to him on the field. It was incredible to watch. And then with him kind of getting up and walking off on his own power and then ultimately leading the team to that dramatic victory. But just the reaction of the team, Wayne, I thought was so significant. It was a moment for me. I've never played organized football. You've played it at the highest level. But for me, from my positionality in the world, that showed so much leadership and just like what he meant to this group as the ultimate sort of alpha, and how everyone has sort of galvanized around him and how this season plays out. I'll always remember that moment of how this team sort of rallied around him when he was hurt and what he truly meant to the team. And so any thoughts you have there, Wayne? You've been in that seat as the man on the UCLA Bruins, the starting quarterback. Just what that perhaps meant to you, and any insights you can share that I wouldn't be aware of.
Well, first of all, that's really well said. And I will say this from my standpoint, one of the things that I've always detested is that guy that's more about himself than the team. And I won't name names, but over all the years I've been at UCLA, there's been way more of those guys than you would like to think. And some of them have been quarterbacks, and some of them have been they're kind of selfish players. Like, yeah, they play hard, but it's more for their glory. I don't feel like Nico cares about his stats. I don't think. I mean, he's probably pissed off he threw a pick six, but he just kept playing. When UCLA was 0-4, I never once heard him complain. He talked to the media every time. The part that you talked about, one of my favorite little, listen, if you don't want to be here, go. I played on some bad high school teams, I can promise you that, and it used to drive me crazy. How many players, which by the way were, sorry Newbury Park people, but I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about people that aren't you. But there was a lot of people that blame people that they should have been blaming themselves. Oh, it's the coach's fault, which, by the way, was my dad. And it was this person's fault and that person's fault. And then because I was the guy that scored all the points in basketball, we had players on our previous year's team going, oh, Cook just shoots the ball every time. Well, I'm shooting 50% from the field. These guys are shooting 30%, and I'm better than they are. Of course I'm going to shoot more, and I want to win, by the way. And there's a lot of loser mentality out there from people, and you see it at all areas of life. And when you see a winner, it doesn't always mean that they're winning. Well, Nico was a winner when this team was 0-4. Because I'm telling you, I told people this is not Nico's fault we lost those games. There was a whole lot of other stuff that was going wrong. And that guy was getting beat up. He was in an offensive system that wasn't working. We weren't even trying to run the ball. There were so many things that were going against him. And he was just like, man, I'm just going to keep playing. So that, to me, is so respectable. So that's like almost like the mental part of the toughness that I love about Nico is that he keeps going. He's had a couple of games like Michigan where he's been off. He starts the game out, he's throwing low, and he's not. And I even said this, and Nico, this is something that like this is so great about you is I know you're going to get better. He can be inconsistent with his accuracy. But man, when they needed him to throw perfect balls like the one to Mikey, that was such a good throw.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was open, but man, it was just right on the money. Mikey, if he would have dropped it, he would have had to leave the stadium and never come back. Like it's like he threw some balls at the end, whether it was to Quasi or Titus, that were so darn good, right when you need them. And that's like to me, that's the ultimate. Like we're gonna make mistakes in sports, but man, when you need to make that play. And you can, not everybody can do that. Some people can put up great stats, and then when they need you the most, then you fall apart. He kind of did the opposite. So I love that, and so that's all the mental stuff that I've been impressed with. And then you throw in the I was hurt.
Yeah.
And I mean, trust me, I can relate to this because if anybody knows anything about my career, I was always hurt. And I mean, from knee injuries to elbow issues to, I had all kinds of issues. But man, I wanted to play. I mean, I played a whole half against Washington State with internal bleeding, and I didn't want to leave the game because I was like worried I was going to let down the team. And then finally, when I went to the hospital and I'm peeing blood, I felt like, okay, at least I have an excuse for not playing. I mean, I couldn't breathe, and I kept going back in there. We actually had a touchdown drive because I wanted to play so bad. And even the Rose Bowl that I played in that, didn't turn out great, that was a couple weeks later. I mean, I was beat up. I was injured. You play sick. You do so much that not everybody always knows about. I promise you Nico's been sore this year. He's been tired. He's been beat up, and so have other players, by the way. And you look at Anthony Woods as another great example. Like, he wanted to play in this game. Even though I think it's an ankle, I'm not 100% sure, but even though he's not healthy and a guy that's electric like he is, when you have an ankle issue or a leg issue, it hurts. But, man, he was distraught that he couldn't play. So when you see what Nico's doing, right, and the way he came out of that tent, like one of my buddies was like that Willis Reed moment, like for the old people out there. And you're just watching him, you're going, oh, we're going to win now. Like, and that's kind of how it felt when he came out and went back on the field. So I know it's a long-winded way of saying it, but you have the mental toughness part of it, and then you throw in the physical toughness part of it, and you have that guy. Like, we look around the country right now and think about the Diego Pavias, and think about the Haynes King, and think about Sam Levitt for Arizona State. Those are guys that are just football players.
Yeah.
Like, they're just football players. And I feel like Nico's just a football player. He's going to get it done somehow. And so I love it. And we're lucky to have him.
We are, Wayne, indeed. And so we now march forward here, Wayne, and we're upon a very unique situation here. First of all, I'm just loving the national attention that UCLA is getting. The fact that we're on Big Noon Saturday, the Fox Showcase game. Yeah. It's been publicized as the country's hottest team against perhaps the country's best team. And we're sort of walking into the juggernaut here, Wayne, that is number 2 Indiana. They've sort of steamrolled their schedule. I thought it was very interesting and very well played by Curt Cignetti earlier this week. I'm sure you saw it, his opening press conference. Cignetti, arguably pound for pound, probably the best coach in college football right now in terms of what he's done at Indiana is just absolutely staggering. But he walked in and said, listen, we're playing a 3-0 football team. And he rattled off all of the stats with UCLA, the 233 rush yards per game over the last 3 games, the time of possession, the third down efficiency, the fourth down efficiency, the fact that this is a new staff, new culture. So I thought Cignetti really kind of set the stage very nicely to avoid any sense of kind of entitlement or trap game or whatnot. Having said that, Wayne, we're walking into arguably this and Ohio State, the 2 hardest games on the schedule by a significant margin. Indiana has basically boat raced everybody they've played, including Oregon in Eugene. The one game that they struggled with, Wayne, a little bit was that Iowa game on the road. And they were coming off a huge emotional high after that huge win against Illinois where they won 63-10 and kind of took that monkey off their back a little bit of not winning the big game. That was a little bit of the narrative last year with Indiana. They sort of won all the little games, but they didn't win the big game. That sort of shed that moniker. I think they were emotionally a little high, and Iowa almost clipped them. I thought Iowa did a great job of stopping the run in that particular game. Fernando Mendoza, who right now pound for pound is the leading Heisman candidate, had his worst game, only 56% completion, which was way below his season average. Iowa controlled the time of possession, kind of muddied up the game, stayed with the run themselves, even though they couldn't do it. So there's a lot there that maybe we can take. Now we're going there. We got those two huge receivers in Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. that are going to be an absolute handful, and Mendoza's just peppering the ball all over the place. This is going to be the ultimate test. But Wayne, your initial thoughts of this matchup and where the Bruins can maybe take advantage in these creases?
I first of all, everything you said is perfect. Cignetti's been amazing. Like he's been amazing, and he's kind of been fun too in the ways that he does things. And by the way, I'm not shocked at all because he should look at UCLA like they're a 3-0 team. This is not the same team that was playing at the beginning of the year. So that's how they should look at UCLA. And they also just played a common opponent. Like we've both played Michigan State at the exact same score. Only difference is we played them on the road. They played them at home. And I don't know about you, but I saw the game, and Childs looked a lot better against them than he did against us.
Yes, no question.
So, like, I saw some opportunities maybe to throw the ball. I saw that. I mean, I still think the run game has been one of the biggest aspects of this turnaround. I think UCLA realizing that even the guy that was fourth on the depth chart, and I've always liked Anthony Frias. Like, I just love the way he works. I love the way he plays, and I'm so excited that he's getting the opportunities. And him and Berger, and then you hear practice reports like Woods and Jet are both out there, at least. I don't know how hard they were going. We don't know. But the idea is that, like, we have 4 solid running backs.
Yeah.
And we have an offensive line that under the Jerry Neuheisel play calling has been way better, right? It's just been, and I trust me, play calling affects those guys. It really does. It gives, you if you're just letting guys pin back their ears and pass rush on every play, it's hard. But when you can do some run blocking and pass by, mix things up and get them to guessing, it changes what those guys do. So I'm sitting there looking at the game and I'm going, listen, we both played the same team. And I actually thought, because remember, Michigan State got points late, right? They scored early and then they got, and I mean, I just feel like Michigan State, I want to say it was up 10-7 in the first half.
They were up 10-7. Yep.
Like, it is what it is. And Cignetti talked about it. He didn't like it was a slow start and it was whatever. But before that, playing Illinois the way they did, and Illinois is still a good team. Iowa, they struggled, but that's a win on the road. And then you talk, is that on the road or at home?
Iowa was on the road.
On the road. And then Oregon. I mean, like, that's a 3-game stretch that you have to go, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. You can't really give the whole, Indiana hasn't played anybody. No. They played, and they actually recently beat a team at their place that they thought, a lot of people thought with Dante Moore and company would be the best. And by the way, Oregon didn't go away.
Yeah.
They just scored 50-something against somebody else.
Yeah.
They bounced right back.
Totally.
That's still so. But the Michigan State game, and again, college football is crazy. First of all, athletes with confidence are dangerous. UCLA has already proven. The Penn State game showed what they could do in a big matchup. And who cares what's happened since then? At that point in time, that was before a team's spirit got crushed.
Yes.
That was a team that still had plenty to play for. Okay. Now you throw in the Maryland game, which again, athletically, in my opinion, quite a bit better than Michigan State. Like you could just feel it on the field. They were better. They were bigger. They had more length. They were faster than Michigan State was. And so that was a test. And that team hasn't exactly, their losses have been close. Every one of their losses have been fourth quarters where they've had the lead. So that was a good test. So, we're going to this game, and I think we're fairly healthy. I feel like we're going to have our guys. So, I don't know, man. I love the way, listen, Roderick Pleasant, and it's embarrassing that, I don't know if you saw, after the game, I swear, and I have these moments where I have a brain cramp, but I was Roderick's walking down the hallway, and I'm talking about turnovers, and I was talking about Scooter, and I saw the 8, and I tried to meet as many of these players as I can at camp, but some of them I miss, and then they have helmets on all the time, right? And
Totally.
I said Roderick, and he goes, I'm not Roderick, and I'm like, oh my God. And he goes, oh, I'm not. He didn't say I'm not Roderick. He said I'm not Scooter. Because I'm like, and then it's like, I'm Roderick. And I'm like, oh my God, Roderick. I go, we talk about you all the time. You've been so good. So anyway, I felt dumb, but then we talked afterwards, even after the interview, and I feel closer to him now. It was an opportunity to meet him. But Roderick has been great.
Oh, phenomenal.
He's been a lockdown corner, and to take a guy with that kind of speed and have the skills to cover. I think that since Coach Coyle took over, I think Cole Martin and Key have been awesome.
Yes.
Jordan's been good on the other side. Like we've done, Scooter's been really, really good. Obviously, that interception was huge. Like, these guys have been great. Our linebackers, I think, have been solid all year, but now they're attacking more.
Yeah.
They were making a lot of tackles, and again, we're good 4 deep, right? When you add in Donnie, and you had John, and you add in Jalen and
Chisholm.
And Chisholm, those 4 are really, really good. And now you're throwing in Scott Taylor and Walls, and we're just seeing all these athletes on the field. I think the defensive line's been better. It's just been way more aggressive. So I know this is a long-winded answer, and we're still talking about Indiana, but now we have not even come close to playing that. We had a young quarterback who I knew we were going to be able to get 2 weeks. In Aiden Childs, I thought they should have. This is just my opinion. I thought they should have benched him before they played us.
Yeah.
But he did better. But he's so inconsistent, and he's a guy that floats around in the pocket, and he's not real disciplined, and he makes a. And then I saw Malik, and I went into that week going, you know what? He does the same thing. He kind of floats around and drifts backwards and throws off his back foot, and he could have thrown 5 or 6 interceptions against us. I mean, it was one of those games where we missed.
No doubt.
And then now we're looking at Fernando Mendoza. You start watching the film, and you're like, oh, crud. And I already knew he was good because I remember at Cal, he's good. But in that system with Surratt and Coleman and the rest of that group, man, does he distribute the ball the way it's supposed to be. He steps up in the pocket. He moves forward. He is capable of using his legs if he needs to. He doesn't, jump off the page as the best runner, the best thrower, he doesn't have the strongest arm. What jumps off the page is how good he reads defenses, how he gets the ball to the right people, how quickly the ball comes out, how accurate he is. This is what, in my mind, what a quarterback's supposed to look like. And then you throw in, we already know, last year was the same way. This offensive system is fantastic. And so they do so many things well. And so it's going to be a big test, but I kind of want to make him a thrower. I'm okay with that. I want us to keep being good against the run.
Yeah.
And I want to let these DBs see what they can do. They're tough matchups. I thought this last year too. Surratt's a guy that we don't talk about enough. Elijah is big. He's athletic. He's a player. He's kind of like what I envision Rico Flores kind of being the more he gets healthy. And because he's not quite as, I don't think Rico's quite as big, but he's kind of got that body and the way he moves and the way he finds space and stuff like that. I think that's that type of receiver. But I just think UCLA is going to try to be great against the run, see what happens in the secondary, see if we can slow them down. We might need a turnover or 2, I think probably is going to be a key. And then on the other side of the ball, I think we're going to need a little bit more of Nico in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to, and which has been hard because we all know that they've been spying him. So his Penn State stuff isn't happening because there's been someone there. You still might need to make the spy miss. Right, you may need to take off, and do some things that are a little bit extraordinary in a game like this. And so, I think keep trying to run the football, spread it around to the different receivers, get the ball out quick. But we might need Nico to get 50, 60 yards and maybe score a touchdown with his legs. I think that would be something that would be crucial in this game too.
No, it makes sense, Wayne, to kind of keep them off balance. I want to ask you this because you've had such unique access, to your point, to the team, and I think you're really starting to build a sense of where their headspace is kind of going into this game as well. You talked about the emergence of the DBs, and we're seeing it. They're just playing with a different level of confidence. It's more physical. They're not giving up space in the same way. They're not giving up inside leverage. And it's just been a sight for sore eyes for so many years because, the secondary has always seemingly to be an issue with our program over the last 8 to 10 years. Let me ask you this. Given this duo of Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr., it's these two and then those two monsters at Ohio State, I would say, and probably the two monsters at SC, they're all kind of in one group, Surratt is the bigger one, to your point. 6'4", 6'4.5". He sort of reminds me a lot of Mike Evans, Wayne, in the NFL. He just kind of has that catch radius, that physicality to him. Omar Cooper Jr. is a little bit smaller at 6'1", 6'2", but super fast and also a really smooth route runner. He actually reminds me a lot of Jordan Addison, frankly, and just his style and the way he goes. Sure. Given who those two guys are in terms of their style, in terms of their body, which corner would you want on each guy, given how our guys have played?
Yeah, I don't. You really can't do that. Like, you know what I mean? It's really hard to just have a corner chase someone to all their. So that's not going to be. They're going to both get them. You have Jordan's taller, right? You have Pleasant, who's going to be faster. Okay, but they both can move. I don't really care. I think, believe it or not, most of the time it's team defense. If we are, in man coverage, I feel confident with both of them. I actually think positioning is more important than size. Because, if you're really good at what you do and you know how to turn and you know how to jump and you know how to cover, it just makes it difficult. Yeah, sometimes a quarterback's going to throw the perfect ball that's at your height and you can go get it and the other guy can't, but that doesn't happen as much as you'd think. I don't really have a preference because I think it's real hard to constantly try to run around and match up with people. But they'll do a good job. There are things you can do to slow down receivers if things are happening. You can absolutely. I will always say that mixing up coverages, and I think UCLA has been great at it. There's ways to bracket people to where you can have someone under and over the top or inside outside. There's things that you can do with secondary to really make things difficult. The problem with Indiana, and this is what I always said, that like when I was coached by Homer Smith, when we were rolling, when I had Kevin Jordan on one side and JJ on the other side, and we had our full complement, we walked up to the line of scrimmage and said, do whatever you want to do. Drop back into coverage, we're going to beat you. Blitz us, we're going to beat you, because we always had the opportunity to adjust the play to, we did it against SC in 93, the whole first half. We just gouged them because they played 6 in the box to try to stop our passing game, and we ran down their throats. They made an adjustment, and then it's game on. Right? That's what you want to do. And I don't know about you, but when you watch Indiana, it feels like they kind of feel that way too. Like, you go ahead. We've got a really smart, experienced quarterback who's really accurate. We've got really good receivers. We've got a really good offensive line. We can run the football. What are you going to do? Like, no doubt. That's why teams like Indiana are so good. That's why teams like Ohio State are so good. Look at what Julian Sain's doing. Now that we're talking about them, the guy's completing 80% of his passes. Like, he's ridiculous, and he's another one of those guys so fundamentally sound. And when you throw that in with knowing how to process and read defenses and go through progressions, and you have great players around you, that's why those two teams are number 1 and 2 in the country right now. And not to mention they play great defense too. Like, you know what I mean? But totally. But Indiana not as good. I know the rankings, when you look at them, like I'm looking at CBS, they're 7th in offense and 7th in defense. Yeah. That's really good. But when I watch them both on film, I feel a little bit better about going up against Indiana's defense. I feel like there's more opportunities there. Again, especially since you saw Michigan State do some things. It wasn't like it was great. They only scored 13 points, but they did move the ball a little bit. And Childs was able to throw for over 200, I believe. Yes. So I would like to think our guy's better than that. So we'll see what happens. So. We'll see what happens. Wayne, I'll get you out on this. What is it going to take if at 12:30 in the afternoon on Saturday, you, me, and the rest of Bruin Nation are absolutely delirious over one of the great upsets, not just in college football this year, but for the last several years, that the Bruins roll on, win a 4th straight game, get to 4-4. What are the 3 things that you think need to happen for the Bruins to shock Indiana at home? Well, gosh, it's probably got to be more than that. Because really, like, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Jerry Neuheisel dealt with some adversity in this game, and he had a big test, and we answered the test. We found a way to win. We also had a game where we had a pick six, where we had things like too many penalties, right? Like Cortland, Garrett, those guys on the offensive line. We need to clean that crud up. Like, again, I love you guys. I love you guys. Like, you guys have been an amazing part of this, but those penalties, they're going to bite us if we don't cut them out. But yet at the same time, this team, under this new regime, has actually overcome that stuff.
Right.
We had a phantom call on a run to the outside on Quasi.
Oh my God, that was unbelievable.
But I will say this, and I hate to do this, but if everybody goes back and watches that play, I don't even know who it was, but one of our linemen completely held a guy. So when the flag came out, I'm like, because you could see him pull somebody as the running back blocked, and I went, nah, that's a holding call. And then they called the other one, then I'm like, that's a terrible call.
Right.
But sometimes you get away with stuff, sometimes you don't. But either way, they overcame all those things. Indiana's a different animal. You got to play much cleaner. So I guess I would start that by let's not, like the clean part. I'm just going to say clean because that's going to include a lot of things.
Yes.
Let's not turn the ball over, and let's cut the penalties down. You're probably going to have a few. It's on the road. But so I always give like a little, like you might have a false start or two. I can live with that. Not more than that, though, right? Let's limit it to a reasonable amount of penalties in a game like this. An aggression penalty, a couple of false starts, and that's good. That's all we can do. And no turnovers. We're not going to fumble. We're not going to throw any interceptions. Okay? Try to limit negative plays. We saw against Maryland the punting game mattered. I thought that Will was really good. And even Tim Skipper, the guy said, well, there was one back kick, and he goes, no, that was a pass rush, and he got it off, and there was a good rush, and he got it off, and he goes, that may not have been a good kick yardage and height-wise, but the fact that he just got it away, and I said, okay, coach, I'll back up on that. You're right. That was coming out of the end zone. But after that, it was kind of like the kicking game mattered. Right. So, like, that matters. Having Mateen Begani matters. Like, he was disappointed he didn't make the 56-yarder. I love that because he wants to make those.
He missed it by a
I know.
too.
And he had another 5 or 6 yards, too.
Totally.
But like, all of these little things, like, we got to make our kicks. We got to punt well. We got to cover well. Like, Carter Shaw, I thought, like, as a receiver that can run like the wind, like, he's out there busting his butt on the cover teams. I'm like, man, number 14 is down there every time.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And the rest of the cover guys have been great too. So just a clean game. Okay, that'll be it. I already said this, but I think Nico might need to be a little bit more special in this game. I mean, and I mean that, like, be a true dual threat. Let's hope that all the bruises, go in the cryogenic chamber, ice baths, whatever you need to do to be healthy. I think that's going to matter a ton. And then, to be honest with you, like, it's got to be our best defensive effort of the year.
Yeah.
So and I'm leaving out simple stuff like run the football because I say that all the time because I think that's huge. But the defense has to tackle. Like, they don't throw downfield as much as you'd think, right? It's a lot of underneath stuff. And so, like, if they're going to complete passes, and they will, they're not going to stop completing passes. We have to tackle. We have to make things happen, and then I'll add, it would be nice to get a couple of turnovers. I think if we can get a fumble and an interception or two fumbles or something like that can happen, especially when you're in a road game. I mean, turnovers are huge in sports, man. And if you can win that turnover battle, like, that means we're not going to have any, and then we can get one or two from them that could, be a momentum swing or something that gives us a short field or even, a scoop and score. Like, something like that might need to happen in this game.
No, it makes sense, Wayne. I love that breakdown. And, that tackling piece is so huge because it feels like this is a game where if we're going to pull off the stunner, it feels like there needs to be fewer possessions in this game. But I think tackling allows you to have fewer possessions given their style of play. Like, if there's a couple of these 13, 14, play drives where they're just sort of methodically moving 6-7 yards, but you're limiting the big play, and then you tighten in the red zone and you find a turnover or two, and on a one drive, a 7 becomes a 3, and another drive, a 7 becomes a 0. And now you look up and each team only has 7 possessions the whole game. that's, I think, kind of a recipe, to your point, for us to stay in it and take it into the fourth quarter and then see what happens.
This is interesting because I've been hearing, and Coach Skipper told us this too. There's more contact happening in practice, and I think since Coach Skipper's taken over, it feels like the tackling has just been better. I mean, almost immediately. So that's good. And then I question for you, because the more I think about it, the more we're talking and going back and forth, I started formulating like, wow, like Indiana scores points.
Yeah.
Which is why the 42 and the 38 points were a lot better than the Maryland game, the 20. We don't win if we score 20.
Right.
Do you have a number?
I think, Wayne, we're probably going to have to be right around 35 for me. I think if we could get to 34 and above.
Could you say that 28 would keep it where we're like possible? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. I think 28 keeps it possible if we tighten in the red zone. We get a couple
for some of those field goals, like you said. Yeah,
exactly. If it's a world where it's like 34-28, and we have the ball at the end with a chance to steal it, that's 6 scoring drives, for them. 2 of those scoring drives are kind of half stops. Maybe you got a turnover or 2. So they really sort of moved it over 8 possessions, but they're sitting at 34. You're at 28 and you can steal it. Feels like a mid-30s game.
So Jamal, like, I love where we're coming here because, like, in my mind, like, that's why, like, Nico's legs are going to matter because if we want to keep the ball out of their hands, running the football, controlled passing game, I don't know if we take as many chances as we should. Like, the downfield throws came late against Maryland. It felt like it took a while to get there. But the blocking was a little bit of an issue because they're pass rush. But, like, if we can run the ball, like, hopefully we have more of our running backs healthy. Like, I don't exactly know 100% what Jet's injury was, but he wasn't wearing his helmet and he wasn't limping. So I can guess. So if he's okay and able to go, that adds another element and another body and another really quick, different type of back because Jalen's turned into our power guy. Frias is kind of a, he's the mini refrigerator, right? Yeah. He's another power guy. And then we have Jet and hopefully Anthony too, that gives us a little bit more of the shiftiness and all that stuff. But if they run the ball, we're controlling clock. Some of those long drives that we experienced against Michigan State and Penn State, it wasn't happening as much. You want those drives where you keep them off the field, and then if Nico can find a way to extend a 3rd and 5 and have to scramble and get a first down, a 3rd and 7 on another drive and scramble and get a first down. Those extra 2 or 3 plays even if you still have to punt, but you get, instead of punting from your own 20, now you're punting from your 45, and you're playing a field position game. But on the other end, what you don't want is to not be able to stop Indiana and remember the beginning of the year, it's like, oh my God, that was Utah just had a 13-play, whatever it was, 14-play drive that took a whole quarter.
Right.
Like, you can't do that either. And Indiana's a type of offense that can do that.
Yes.
So like that part of it, I 100% agree with you. Like, that being able to control the clock on the offensive side of the ball, I think will help the defense, and it'll also, be a huge factor in the game because now they don't have the ball as much.
No, it's such a great point, Wayne, because I've seen a lot of Indiana football over these last 2 years. I know you have as well. They'll start slow from time to time, but slow kind of means the opening team kind of gets a touchdown in like 2 minutes. They come back in 2 minutes. Another team gets a field goal, and then they come back and get a touchdown. It's like 8 minutes to go in the first quarter, and it's 14-10. And that's, I think, where you don't want to be because there's sort of a horsepower there where eventually you're going to fade and they're going to keep scoring. And that's how these scores become kind of non-linear very quickly with Indiana. And the last thing I'll say, Wayne, is for as good as Mendoza has been, and it's so ironic, right, that Mendoza, Dante Moore, was sort of Indiana, Oregon, and then 2 years ago it was Chip's last game at the Rose Bowl with Cal and UCLA, just the wild world of college football that we're in now. For as great as Mendoza is, and he's great for all of the reasons that you described, the one thing I see from time to time is he presses a little bit when they don't have the ball a lot. He's one of those guys, because he's such a rhythm thrower, to your point, he's one of those guys like in the NBA, you're kind of like a volume shooter. You get better with more shots up, and he gets better with more attempts and more reps as the game goes because it's just flowing for him. He reads the defenses. There's the pre-snap. He gets the ball out quick. If you've got him standing on the sideline for 5, 6, 7 minutes, he'll press a little bit from time to time. And that's kind of what you saw in that Oregon game a little bit. When he had that pick six, that was off of a long Oregon drive. And that was a bad – exactly.
He really spins it. I like it, but every once in a while, like even in the Michigan State game, he'll have a throw where it just doesn't look like it comes off his hand right. So again, you hope for those moments, and going back to the Cal thing, Javian and Mikey, right? It's gonna be a little reunion of those guys, and so man, college football is insane. But this is what I told Coach Skipper this week. I mean, and again. He's so good at these interviews that I don't really have to say anything. I can just say, "Hey, Coach, what do you want to tell us?" But I talked to him about like the opportunity that this team has, and you asked me earlier, like it's so fun. I did an interview with Anthony Frias on the field before the game was over. I was in there, and you remember they added that 2 seconds on.
Totally.
I'm like, I mean, and it was such a cool interview because Anthony was so excited, and two of the biggest plays of the game.
Totally.
The touchdown in the first half and the run that led to the field goal were gigantic. And I it was just so great. They were like, "Oh, crud, we got to go." And then, I'm talking to Mike, "Hey, can I interview?" And he goes, "Maybe." And then the week before when we won, I'm like, "Hey, you guys, can I, and I felt bad because Titus was sitting right there and he scored 100, had 106 yards receiving. And I'm like, crud, I could have interviewed him too. And then it's funny because one time they're like, the first win at home, they're like, "Do you know the fight song?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, do I know the fight song?" And then I sang the fight song to these guys on the sidelines because they're just like, when you're winning, it's so much fun. Like, people don't understand. Football is so damn hard. You just kill yourself. You put your body through so much. All of us old guys have scars and stuff that hurts because of all the surgeries and all the years we played. You put so much into it that the losing is so bad and the winning is so good. It's so drastically different. In basketball, I love it. I play basketball for a long time. But if I play on a Tuesday, I got another game on Thursday. Right? Exactly. And then we might have a weekend game. And then baseball, same thing. You have a 3 or 4 game series, so you get kind of loose to you're not going to win every game. So to me in football, it's just so intense. And you put yourself through so much. And that's not belittling any of those other sports. They're amazing, and I love them. But Garrett DiGiorgio, I'm going to mention you. I'm going to mention all the offensive linemen because I love you guys. And I love seeing you after the games after you win because those guys are as happy as anybody. And so it's like I just want to look forward to more and more of these moments. Who knows what's going to happen? But, man, I'm excited for the opportunity, and I know they are too.
Oh, Wayne, we're on a ride here, and let's just enjoy every moment. Wayne, always such a pleasure and delight to have you on. And regardless, win or lose, we're going to have you back on next week, But let's hope we keep this sort of streak going here. And what a great show indeed. Before we get out of here, folks, we got to pay the bills. Look at that Sleeper app below, the number 1 sports betting app on the market today. Real-time stats, engagement, all the things that you need to be successful. $100 off match bonus. Tell them the guys at the LAFB network sent you. You get 100, and then you get another 100 for free. Use that promo code UCLA LAFB. Well, Wayne, we're going to be glued to it Saturday morning, big noon. And fans, we're a few days away. And like we always say, be loud, be proud, be passionate, Bruins. And like we always say, 4's up forever.